orgulho LGBT. T de transgênero, T de travesti, T de tendência, T de talento de trabalho, T de transformação, T de tech, T de empregabilidade trans pra todos. Junho é o mês do orgulho trans. Seja um aliado. Venha somar com a gente na Feira e Marcha do Orgulho Trans de São Paulo, o maior evento trans da América Latina, de 3 a 24 de junho. Confira a programação completa em orgulhotrans.com.br.
Olá, eu sou Pri Bertucci, CEO da BBOX Consultoria. Em parceria com o Pacto Global, trazemos esse curso para vocês saberem mais sobre o universo LGBTQIAP+. Com ele, além de tirar a maioria das suas dúvidas sobre o tema, você conseguirá levar para dentro da sua empresa a promoção da diversidade sexual e de gênero, atingindo assim mais um dos 17 Objetivos do Desenvolvimento Sustentável desenvolvidos pela ONU, a ODS 5, que visa igualdade de gênero. Esses 17 Objetivos do Desenvolvimento Sustentável foram criados para a gente chegar em um planeta mais sustentável, justo, digno para todos, todas e todes. Vamos começar a nossa viagem pela diversidade?
Da sigla LGBTQIAP+,
eu me identifico como uma mulher lésbica.
Ai, que delícia de pergunta. Sempre quis responder isso, de verdade. Eu me considero uma mulher trans, queer.
Por una razón política, me identifico como un hombre trans y me identifico como una persona bisexual.
Ser uma mulher negra, lésbica, lidar com pautas mais urgentes do que pautas que geralmente uma mulher branca lésbica enfrenta, como o racismo que a gente sofre diariamente no nosso cotidiano, no nosso trabalho, inclusive nas nossas relações afetivas.
The whole notion that being transgender, non-binary, gender non-conforming is actually not new. It's not an invention that we just came up with. Throughout history, throughout cultures and societies all over the world, we can see folks who have not conformed to gender standards, who have been a third gender, who've been two-spirit, and who've in some way transgressed these particular gender roles. We see them everywhere. We're talking about it a lot more now.
Siempre hicimos parte de la tierra latinoamericana y de otras naciones, solo que nuestra historia todo el tiempo ha sido callada. No, la historia de las naciones no está escrita por nosotros y nosotras. Entonces eso es lo doloroso, porque no hacemos parte de la historia y por eso ahora la gente se sorprende que haya gente que ay, ¿cómo así? ¿Se quieren cambiar el sexo? Pero es que las personas venimos haciendo tránsitos desde antes de la colonización de las Américas.
Dentro da sigla a gente tem diferenças e lutas mais específicas, né?
A gente precisa especificar cada coisa para elas poderem existir, para a gente poder reivindicar o lugar delas no mundo.
É difícil dentro de uma empresa você falar eu sou lésbica, eu acho. Apesar das coisas estarem mudando, acho que tem empresas que estão mais abertas. Imagino que algumas, não sei, por exemplo, como é dentro de uma fábrica, falar que você é sapatão. A gente sofre com pequenos conselhos, né? Não só dentro de empresa, mas com amigos, do tipo, pra que você vai falar que você é sapatão? Não precisa. E isso é uma homofobia clara, assim.
Olá, Pri. Olá, pessoal. Um prazer estar aqui com vocês, dividindo um pouco da minha experiência com o curso EAD do Diversity Box. E o que eu achei muito interessante é porque o tema de diversidade e inclusão não é algo que tem que estar na agenda do RH das nossas organizações. É algo que tem que ser praticado no dia a dia de todos os líderes e colaboradores para que você crie um ambiente inclusivo de fato. E esse é o grande desafio que nós temos hoje, né? Como grandes aliados da causa promover a diversidade e inclusão, é necessário que a gente comece com um ambiente de respeito. E para respeito, a gente precisa reconhecer a nossa ignorância no tema e estar aberto para aprender. E foi isso que eu aprendi aqui. Eu achei muito interessante, Pri, quando você traz para a gente uma perspectiva do nosso tamanho, sendo mais de 7 bilhões de pessoas, que seja quase impossível que nós nos encaixemos em 2 pequenos padrões. Isso já faz a nossa cabeça explodir de possibilidades. E ao abrir essa possibilidade de conhecimento, entender que cada sigla, que cada letra tem uma representatividade na nossa sociedade, o quão importante é para a gente entender, para que ao promover um ambiente respeitoso, todos se sintam à vontade para estar nele e produzir o máximo do seu potencial, é que vai trazer para a gente um grande retorno para todas as organizações. Por isso esse tema é importante. Trazer e promover um ambiente inclusivo e diverso reflete em produtividade, reflete em aumento de receita, mas ele não pode ser feito de qualquer jeito. Por isso que o curso foi tão importante para mim. Eu acho que eu dei um grande passo, aprendi bastante e estou ansiosa para o próximo. Conto com você, hein, Pri? Até mais!
Pessoal, meu nome é Felipa.
Meu nome é Eduardo. Meu nome é Caio Henrique.
Boa tarde, me chamo Danilo. Eu sou Arnã.
Boa tarde, eu sou Carlota.
Boa tarde, meu nome é Vanessa.
Meu nome é André.
Olá, meu nome é Vitor. Eu sou Camilo. Eu sou um homem trans.
Eu sou a Raquel.
É um prazer estar com todas vocês aqui hoje, para ver se a gente se aprofunda nesses conceitos LGBTQIA+, e estar com todos esses candidatas e candidatas aqui incríveis para a gente trocar, né, muita experiência de todo mundo.
O nosso negócio, ele é formado por pessoas, o nosso business são pessoas, e é para pessoas e por pessoas que a gente faz tudo isso. E como principal pilar, a gente muda a vida de todas as pessoas, e é por isso que hoje nós estamos aqui. E a gente vinha quebrando muito a cabeça de querer fazer algo diferente. Nós buscamos aí o melhor parceiro para nos apoiar, que é a Diversity Box. E com todo o seu know-how, é a consultoria mais renomada do país, quando falamos de diversidade, precisão, assertividade e responsabilidade. Seguindo aí um modelo 360 e oferecendo a melhor solução quando falamos de sensibilização, senso e treinamento.
A população trans é a população mais sensível quando a gente está falando de comunidade LGBTQIA+. E hoje a gente vai trazer para vocês pessoas que não só elas que estão aqui, mas inúmeras outras representam muita resistência, tá? Resistência e sobrevivência. Então estão aí lutando com bastante experiência profissional, estão buscando vida acadêmica, e vocês vão conhecer essas pessoas. E aí eu volto para vocês para entender o tamanho da responsabilidade que cada um de nós tem aqui em diminuir essa distância que existe entre todas as pessoas que fazem parte dos grupos minorizados e as grandes corporações.
É uma questão de que aquela pessoa é expulsa da escola, é expulsa da família, é expulsa, enfim, diversas adversidades que aquela pessoa passa e ela ainda continua viva. Você tem ideia do que é continuar viva? Passando por todas essas adversidades, significa que você constrói diversas habilidades para sobreviver.
A gente tem um dos produtos que é o diagnóstico de RH. Sim, é interessante ver porque tem gatilhos e gargalos dentro do processo de contratação e do recrutamento que estão totalmente endireitados. Então, a flexibilização das vagas é essencial para esse processo de equidade.
I think it's a beautiful question about what is diversity. And I've been hearing more and more, especially from diversity and inclusion trainers, how sometimes that word doesn't mean enough, right? So in some way we say diversity. We can walk into a room and maybe everybody looks different, but everybody has the same education and everybody's the same class. Is that diversity? And you can argue that it is, but are you willing to talk about it? That's another thing. So diversity is not just having poster people or token people represented, but it's actually listening and having contributions be respected by the people who are coming from diverse backgrounds and diverse experiences. Right now in the US, the business news is talking about how more diversity, sex, gender, class, race, is actually more productive for your company, because I as a black trans man might be in the board meeting and I say something that's so out of the box that other people get triggered and then they go, oh yeah. So it helps to bring more creativity versus everybody's the same with the same experience, all saying the same thing.
Eu acho que um dos papéis que o RH tem que ter, que eu acho que foi o que a gente construiu, né, enquanto eu era RH, Red Bull e o Diversity Box, é a ponte. Porque eu lembro a primeira conversa que a gente teve foi essa, assim, porque existe um lugar do saber e da experiência que vocês têm, né, LGBTQIA, e vocês têm, que é um conhecimento teórico muito grande, muito profundo, e a gente que está lá na empresa, cis, que já está no meio corporativo há muito tempo. Como que essas duas coisas falam? Porque às vezes elas estão em lugares tão diferentes, às vezes parece que elas não falam, que elas discutem. E aí quando você vai, se você fica nesse lugar de discutir, se você fica em um lugar de saberes muito distantes um do outro, você não cria o lugar da fala, você não cria o lugar do encontro. Você cria dois lugares de saber que vão estar polarizados e aí você pode até criar o conflito, né? Porque eu sei, eu também sei, e aí? E aí eu acho que o RH tem que ser essa ponte, assim, e acho que é uma coisa que também que o Diversity Box ajuda muito, essa ponte entre esses dois conhecimentos. Então tá bom. Então existe esse conhecimento, essa experiência LGBTQIA, que a gente tem que se apropriar, a gente tem que entender, e existe o corporativo, que tem suas regras, suas políticas. Como que a gente dialoga? Como que a gente cria essa ponte? Esse eu acho que é um dos papéis que o RH tem também.
Eu acho que sempre tem, e a única forma que eu vejo de entrada é quando, sei lá, um grande CEO de uma dessas empresas resolve se sensibilizar pelo caso. Se não é de cima para baixo, e tem que ser assim, tipo, olha, eu quero que essa empresa tenha diversidade. Se vocês que trabalham aqui, os outros, sei lá, por cento, branco, não gostam do tema, tudo bem. O problema de vocês, e tem que vir de cima. Não adianta o cara ali da ponta falar, olha, eu quero levantar esse assunto. O único jeito que eu vejo, assim. Tem que sensibilizar o cara que está lá em cima. E, bom, essas grandes empresas têm que mostrar que isso dá lucro. O Carrefour já provou, assim, tem uma ideia e tal, que deu lucro, né? Que dá lucro, porque essa é a ideia das grandes empresas, né?
Eu só trabalho, em geral, trabalho com brancos, quase que exclusivamente. E porque eu trabalho dentro de instituições. E nas instituições, eu trabalho com os incluídos, que são os homens, né? O masculino, o branco, o hétero. Esta é a criatura com a qual eu vou falar, buscando abrir instituição para os segmentos que estão excluídos. Então, tem todo um grande desafio cotidiano, ao fazer um workshop, ao fazer um seminário, ao fazer um censo numa determinada instituição, a olhar para os programas que ela tem e buscar dentro desses programas como é que eles poderiam ser mais plurais.
Tem muita dificuldade hoje de dialogar com outros RHs, porque eu ainda acho que as pessoas, o RH que é feito hoje é muito longe do RH que as pessoas precisam. Tá? O RH as pessoas precisam exatamente o RH que vai estar povoando espaços como esses, que vai estar dialogando com outras pessoas que são diferentes dele para conseguir entender outros olhares e conseguir criar uma organização com diferentes olhares. E isso é um desafio enorme, assim. E o que os RHs em geral fazem? É muito complexo, vamos fazer o básico. E aí fica no básico, é uma grande repetição do básico, com novas modinhas, né, novas teorias, aplica isso, aplica aquilo. O que o RH tem que fazer é sair de dentro das empresas. A empresa nada mais é do que uma cópia da realidade fora dela. E a realidade fora dela é múltipla. Não adianta você querer padronizar todo mundo, colocar políticas, processos. Cada vez mais a gente está vendo que a empresa quase que se gera por si só, ela é orgânica, né? Então, na verdade, ela tá só repetindo o que é visto lá fora de uma forma um pouquinho mais estruturada e nem sempre. Então, cara, se você fica só com uma estrutura, que é isso, que no topo só tem homens cis, que quando você vai descendo tem algumas mulheres, você vai descendo tem pouquíssimos negros, pouquíssimos. E aí você vai descendo, tem pouquíssimos trans, enfim, não tá refletindo o que é a realidade.
Frankly, very often companies are genuine in their desire to stand with our community, but sometimes they don't really understand what we're talking about. They're like, how many trans people are you talking about? You know, what does it mean for my company to give opportunities to trans people? I never see them, you know. How can I send the message? Help guide them in saying, what does it mean to be a friend to our movement? How can you be a friend to trans people? The issue is that once they have made that commitment, very often they come back to me and they say, well, okay, so how do I deal with pronouns? Or, you know, can you tell me what is in Latin America the right way to go about having gender affirming surgery in my health plan? Or you said that I should set up an employee resource group, but, you know, no employee has come forward.
Eu penso no trabalho com este tema, eu penso em encontrar um lugar dentro de mim mesma, das pessoas com as quais eu trabalho e do CERT, a instituição da qual eu faço parte, encontrar aquele lugar onde é possível você se encontrar com a certeza de que tem uma dimensão humana em todos os diferentes grupos. Eu acho que isso é um aspecto importante. É um lugar seguro dentro da gente, de quem acredita que vale a pena fazer esse trabalho, porque dentro de um hétero, dentro de um homem, dentro de um branco, você vai... Tem algo que nos une. Então, como é que você encontra este lugar dentro de você como um lugar de conforto? Ok, tem esse lugar, como é que chegamos todos a ele?
Então, os RHs têm que ficar muito atentos, porque as empresas não estão traduzindo o que é a realidade. E aí, qual que é o perigo desse para o business? Isso é muito importante para o RH. O RH tem que saber traduzir isso para o business. Porque se eu falar isso para o business, ok, são só números. Mas como você traduz isso? Isso traduzindo que o que nós estamos fazendo não está aderente ao mercado que nós estamos atuando. Então, em alguma hora, isso vai se romper.
É importante você fazer uma opção teórica, metodológica, mas que para mim eu amplio dizendo, ela é espiritual, ela é energética, ela vai mexer com coisas nossas que são negadas o tempo inteiro pelo capitalismo, pela racionalidade. Você precisa ir mesmo para este lugar onde estão estas coisas que são comuns aos humanos. Acreditar neste lugar e fazer isso juntos.
A gente não tem o conhecimento técnico, teórico, e às vezes a gente não tem a vivência. E para mim o Diversity Box traz exatamente isso. E para mim foi muito prazeroso trabalhar, e além de ser prazeroso, foi muito seguro trabalhar. Porque eu sabia que tinha alguém respaldando o que a gente estava fazendo e dando uma segurança de que a gente não ia fazer besteira. E hoje as empresas têm que tomar muito cuidado com a imagem, né? Então, a gente tem alguns exemplos na mídia de artistas que talvez não foram bem assessorados e aí fizeram um grande estrago, né? Seja na mídia, na carreira deles, algumas empresas, de novo, que às vezes pintam um arco-íris, mas não entende profundamente do que está sendo falado. Então, para mim, o Diversity Box ele é essencial em qualquer empresa que pensa em fazer algo ligado à diversidade. A gente parte de um sistema que não é igual para as pessoas, então a gente tem que forçar essa equidade dentro das empresas. Como que eu traduzo isso em números? Como que eu traduzo isso para o C-Level? Como que eu traduzo isso para a matriz, que é uma dificuldade, que às vezes você trabalha numa empresa que só tem uma base no Brasil, que não conhece a realidade brasileira. E você tem uma matriz que está em outro país, europeu, americano, que é uma realidade completamente diferente.
That's where I think organizations like Sexbox are very important, is that they create that link between the commitment and the implementation. My office doesn't have the capacity, nor does it have the knowledge to accompany companies on this journey. And so I love the work of Sexbox because in kind of a fun and innovative ways, it tells companies, you know, other companies have been on that journey and I'm going to help you I'm going to help you get there. And I was very impressed when I met with some of Sexbox clients when I was in Brazil by the depth of their engagement. You know, it's not the superficial, I'm going to make a little article on my intranet on the International Day Against Homophobia. It's I'm really going to think about those difficult issues. The issue of the pronouns, the issue of, you know, celebrating LGBTI people not only on the International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia, or not only, you know, during Pride Month, but all year long. Send a clear message from senior management: you are welcome, you are part of this company. Because, you know, trucking companies, companies that produce glass for highly technical machines, companies that build cars also have a stake on LGBTI issues. And they also have to do the same journey that Coca-Cola went on. They have to go on the same journey that Microsoft went on, which is the journey from I am committed to LGBTI equality to I'm actually doing it. And I think that's the strength of Sexbox. And, you know, frankly, the fact that Sexbox is led by a trans leader is also extremely symbolic, which is instead of being the usual white gay guy like me that is saying, you know, I'm going to take you on that journey of inclusion, it is the part of the segment of the community that is the most marginalized that is saying, I'm actually the one that is going to take you on that journey. And I think that's also powerful. So I'm a big fan of Sexbox, and I'm really looking forward to see what Sexbox has in store for the next few years.
Ela é apresentadora, cantora, atriz na série Pose, empreendedora e fundadora e CEO da Transtech Social Enterprises, uma organização que ajuda a capacitar economicamente pessoas trans no universo da tecnologia. Ela é uma rainha e vai trazer seu brilho para o maior evento trans da América Latina. Angélica Ross já está confirmada para a Feira Trans 2022 e para a 5ª Marcha do Orgulho Trans de São Paulo. Participe da Feira Trans e saiba mais sobre as iniciativas que abordam inovação, empreendedorismo e empregabilidade trans nos dias 11 e 12 de junho. Entre no site e saiba mais. orgulhotrans.com.br. Realização: Instituto Sexbox, Diversity Box Consultoria e Social Box Incubadora LGBTQIAP+.
Can be so far and still so close to me.
I am so excited to be here with one of my best friends, Fresh Lev White. He is speaking with us straight from Oakland. And today in this trans talk, we're going to approach some skill building, accountability topics, and ways that we can improve, I guess, our quality as community. So Fresh, welcome to our Trans Pride Brazil.
Thank you so much. So glad to be here with you and Sexbox.
You have been with us for so many years already. Probably people wouldn't remember you from our conference, international conference. Fresh was here in São Paulo, Brazil for our Sexbox International Conference 2018, doing amazing work with community. And now we are here to do this trans talk. And to be honest, I guess one of the reasons I choose this topic is because I've been feeling the need to talk about this, of how we all see this going on, but I guess especially in Brazil, we don't have that many tools to work through our community building skills, especially when we're talking about us as oppressive communities. We all have been through a lot of pain and a lot of trauma. And my question to you, Fresh, is what is going on? Why do you think there's so much oppressive going on between trans people, even the LGBTQ community, I would say, but like trans people towards trans people? And please introduce yourself and the work you do there in California for us.
Great, thank you. So wonderful to be with you, Pri. And I love that you and I have been engaging now for almost 6 years, I think, since we first met before the first conference. And it's just beautiful to watch it grow and the community work that you are doing, right? So my name is Fresh Lev White. I go by Fresh or Lev, either is fine. I am located on what's called the Huichin territory, which is the land of the indigenous Ohlone people in an area called Oakland, California. The Ohlone people are still alive and active, so we recognize that we are on their stolen land. And if you ever have a chance to come here and meet and engage with them, they're very beautiful. My pronouns are he and they. And the work that I do, sort of the underlying work that I do, is around community building through doing trans and gender expansive and or LGBTQI plus ally trainings. I do work around dismantling microaggressions, and we could talk a little bit about that in a moment. And then I do a lot of my work and teachings when I'm doing teachings in Buddhist or even professional settings around the importance of self-compassion and self-care. So to answer your question, which is so important, why are we having so much infighting? And for that, it's important to look at what's happening outside of us. So many of us were raised with this idea that we're not enough and we're not worthy. So many of us come out of trauma and abuse. And what's true, whether you're talking about trans people, or you're talking about union workers, or you're talking about any kind of working class people in particular, is that lateral oppression is a game that we've been trained and conditioned to play. So for example, let's say I had a conference going on somewhere and you had a conference going on somewhere. I am trained to compete with you instead of holding you up. Because everybody in the world is telling me I'm not enough. And instead of going, hey, pointing up there, why, whatever that reason is, it's easier for me to attack you. So lateral oppression is the reason that working class people don't make enough money, because they fight amongst each other. It's the reason why middle class people are always competition, because we fight amongst each other. And it's simply easier, or so we think, to fight amongst each other than to go after the system. And imagine what it would be like if we went together to change the system. Yeah, I hope that wasn't too long, but.
My experience being in the Bay Area, it taught me a lot too, especially with like nonviolent communication, to see, my need, to figure out my needs and what I'm feeling, as well. Hakumi, sematics, all those experience in being in queer community and trans community, it really transformed me. And I understand so much of the pain of not even having the time, I guess, to think about this, or even, I guess, know that this exists. I feel like a lot of people don't even know that it's possible through so many other tools that's there available. And I feel also there's a language barrier, there's a class barrier here in Brazil, much more than I feel in the Bay Area. And I try to bring the nonviolent communication to our community. And I just found like a big wall, and I was expecting a lot of like change right away. And of course that didn't happen. So I've been trying different things, moving around, bringing inclusive communication topics. But I think when you talk about the class issue, I really want to look into this, because there is the privilege I experienced by, even being a brown trans person, being in the US gave me this amazing toolbox that I feel a lot of people don't have access to it. So if you can comment on the class issue as well.
Yeah, it's so important. I'm one of those people who was working at 14 out of my house on my own at 16. And I spent lots of time working in bars. My community was a lot of trans women of color. And we were up and working, working in bars, them working V bars sometimes, working in the street, lots of street economy work. And in the culture that I grew up in New York or in Washington, D.C., there was a lot of, again, tearing down of each other. And I can say that I've always been more on the kind end, but sarcastic was, really, something that I thought was like normal. And jumping forward, I remember the first time I heard the term nonviolent communication, I was like, basically like, what the fuck, do they, they're trying to change my language. They're trying to make me change. Like, I didn't get it, right? I didn't have exposure to recovery, right? And I didn't have exposure to people who were healed and doing healing work and moving in that direction from a really gut level. And so being in the Bay Area, there is that privilege. And I will say that, and I also have privilege. I'm brown, I'm masculine, and I don't know when I drive in my car if I'm going to make it home every day. That's just a fact. But I do know that because of the healing work that I've done, starting in Al-Anon, which is like for adult children of alcoholics. So when I grew up around a lot of alcoholism, mental health stuff, trauma, I had to do that work within myself. And when I'm doing healing with myself, it's easier to heal other people. It's not, like you said, it's not like this. at all. And nobody should expect that of themselves or people around them. But we just keep coming back. When we got on this morning, you were saying that you meditated this morning, and you talked about how if we have to get in the cycle, right? Because meditating today and not meditating for the next week is not helping, but trying to do it more consistently. So it's so important, and it's difficult. There's something else that you said about understanding your feelings. So I remember even as late as 2007, 2008, like being with my partner, and she's like, "Oh, what do you want?" I'm like, "I don't know what I want. I don't know what I need," because I'm so busy focusing on what everybody else wants and needs, right? So doing that healing work so we can even know. And well, I had the wonderful opportunity to work with former trans women sex workers who were former sex workers who happen to be trans women as well. And one of them was like, she came to my workshop. I don't know why, but she came, she heard about it. And she was like, "I don't get this meditation stuff." She's like, "Sometimes when people get work me, I'm just swinging." And I was just like, "Would you like to have the option to swing?" I was like, "You can still swing." And she came back later and she was like, "I tried the meditation." And she was like, "I didn't always swing." She was like, "I actually thought about it versus working out of reaction." So I might be rambling a little bit, but I just want to say it's so important for us to be kind to ourselves, because the system has done a really intensive and continues to do a really intensive, purposeful job of trying to crush us. But we can't be crushed if we're standing together, and we can't be crushed if we're working together. Just leave it there for now.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for that reflection. My next question is about connecting with meditation and spiritual work. So why healing and spiritual work? It's so important in community, right? In Buddhism, for example, we have the Sangha. So can you tell us a little bit about the importance of getting together and creating this environment of kindness, of first kindness to ourselves? Sometimes I catch myself being so mean to myself in my own head. I don't know if people have the time to just notice, like, uh-oh, what voice is this forcing me to do more, go faster, be better? And it's fascinating to notice when those voices came, it automatically take me out of the present moment of like, oh, there's nothing going on now. I'm good. I'm just drinking my coffee, or, we just got the fight, flight, freeze, or appease trigger. So if you can share a little bit about like, how can we be more of the observer from the outside, see what's going on, and actually have names and be able to use spiritual practice to help that?
Yeah, thank you. What you were saying about the voices, and part of what we're talking about meditation, it can look like lots of different ways. So I know some people, as soon as they hear it, they're afraid of it. But we're meditating almost all the time. The thing is, we don't know what meditating on. We might be meditating on the voice that said we were stupid. And so we're going on and on. I don't know, it's happened to me where, like, half hour later, I'm like, wait, what's going on? Why am I calling myself stupid? Where's this voice? And the more I practice the meditation, which I'll talk about in a moment, the easier it is for me to catch it right away and to encourage myself to be kind, literally saying, I'm okay. So let me talk about meditation and then what's possible. So the meditation is simply being present with what is in this moment and trying to do so without judgment, just accepting. So right now I'm breathing. I know I have a little bit of lighting issue happening here. my stomach's a little hungry, I have a foot that hurts, and I'm aware of what's happening, but I don't have to do anything about it. And the way you may have learned about meditation might be through breathing. So I might sit and focus on my breath for anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour, where the goal of my practice is to notice my breath coming in, notice my breath going out, and then notice when my mind is wandering. And your mind is going to wander. So that's the thing to also know. It's not for your mind to wander and then you go, damn it, I can't believe I lost track. You notice your mind wander. You can actually go, yes, all right, come on back, begin again, because it's almost like you wake up to yourself in that moment. It's like building a muscle. So maybe for one breath or two breaths, or maybe 5, I can stay with the breath and the mind wanders. Then in the future, maybe I can stay with 10 breaths and the mind wanders. But there's no goal. There's no goal and there's no perfect way to do it. It's simply to just practice. Let the practice itself be the goal, be the work. Once I do that, I become more aware of what you were talking about, Pri, the voices in my head, so that I can hear sooner rather than a half hour later, I hear, oh, I'm beating myself up. I remember when I was first doing this and there was a voice going on, it was almost like I realized I was triggered. And so the voice is going, I'm triggered, I'm triggered, I'm triggered, I'm triggered, I'm triggered, I'm triggered. And suddenly I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, why? Oh, somebody mentioned something that harmed me in the past. Oh, okay, that's not happening right now. That's all I had to do. And then I could go back and be present and do whatever I was doing without the voice bothering me. Sometimes we have to attend to what happened in the past, but sometimes we can't do it right away, but we can know that that's something that we can attend to later. And then I love what you talked about being a community and Sangha, which is spiritual community. So just to be clear, meditation is really raised up like it's a Buddhist practice, and Jesus meditated. So if you're Christian, you know that Jesus went up on the mountain and he also sat and meditated. Prayer is meditation. We're sitting and we're focusing on one particular thing, or we're really grounded in our body and feeling. So don't make up that you have to change your religion to do meditation. Dalai Lama does not want you to change your religion. He just wants to help you. So when we're doing this in community, so let's say Pri and I, we're having our events, and I'm not an event planner, so just using this example. Pri and I are having our events, and we're feeling competition with each other. And now we're trying to practice together. It might take a minute, because it's not even about me beginning to trust Pri. I have to learn how to trust myself. I have to learn to trust that no matter what Pri does, I got me. That I've got me, I've got my business, whatever it is that I'm doing, and I don't have to rely on Pri's behavior in order for me to feel good. So that's the other part of the practice. Now that I trust me, there's more space for me to have trust and compassion for Pri and their experience. And this is just an example of how it works. Cut me off if I talk too long. And please, if you want to share anything based on your question, let me know. Or let us know. We want to hear.
It's just like hearing you sharing, you feel like, okay, let's practice right now. Let's do like a 3-minute, do you have a timer or something you can put on? Let's do a 3-minute practice, because I guess for me, it took a while. I mean, it takes practice, but it's like ride a bike, once you learn, it's so simple. People think it's complicated, but it's so simple. Breath. And for me, really had 2 other things I learned that works for me. And I think it might be different from each person, but focus on my third eye. If I close my eyes, I just focus looking at my third eye. And I also just keep my ear open to the noises around me, you know? There is someone cutting the grass, there's the cat, there's, you know, all the noises that's coming up, not try to avoid them, just be with them. And just always go back to those three things, come back to those three things. It really helps me. So maybe we can do a little practice and see how we feel for 3 minutes.
Yeah, and let me add something else too. If you're someone who has a lot of anxiety and you're nervous, you can also put your hand on your heart. You can just leave it there while you're focusing on your breath or allowing the sounds to come and go. You can also tap. So if you have a lot of energy, you can tap here. You can tap the top of your thighs. And still, you're even allowed to count. So you can count, and then when you lose track of counting, you can begin again. So this is not like proving I can do anything practice. This is simply, can I be with myself in this moment practice? So I'll ring this bell, and then I'll ring it twice when we're done. Whoops. Sorry, it hit something. I ring the bell and the cup. And then simply closing your eyes if you're comfortable with that. And if not, focusing on one thing on the floor or the screen in front of you. And begin by noticing your breath coming in and coming out. And see if there's a spot where you notice your breath most intently. It might be your nostril, your throat, or the rising and falling. There is no specific, just what's there for you. So then we call this know you're breathing in, know you're breathing out. So just noticing. Otherwise, as Pri mentioned, just hearing or tapping. And I'll be quiet for the next 2 minutes. You just practice that the best, the best you can. I'm going to ring the bell shortly and just invite you to just notice the sensations in your body, your toes, your heart, your hand or hands. And if any of those are inaccessible, just meeting that with kindness. Taking one more breath together. Slowly opening your eyes when you're ready. How's it feel to just slow down a moment?
So much more presence. Noticing breath, noticing anxiety, to be here recording this and to be live for so many people. But I guess two things I noticed that's so helpful, I guess, is to hold my breath and press down to the navel and very slowly let it out. That totally like bring everything down to here now, to flow, to presence. And it's so amazing because it feels like the mind's the horse, and it's running. It's like, okay, it's present. It's not present anymore. Oh, and it's present. It's just like such a interesting game we have going on in our heads.
Yeah, and can we be kind with all of that? That's the thing.
And not give up, right? Not give up from trying.
Not give up. And you notice that, and you said like there were, thoughts and feelings coming up. Sometimes sadness will come up, right? Because we finally settle down and we allowing that sadness or grief or even anger. And we just keep breathing with those. Just keep breathing with those, and they will go through a natural cycle. So we don't have to worry. Yesterday I was at a memorial, and the person who lost their partner was like, I'm afraid if I start crying, I'm gonna, fall off a cliff. And we were like, no, you're not gonna fall off a cliff. Allow the flow. And of course, we were all there with them. But even when you're alone, it will end. It will end. And if not, hopefully you have some friends to reach out to, but it generally changes. I was sharing this story about Jack Kornfeld is one of the teachers who brought Buddhism to the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. And he was sharing a story about how he was having this big fight with his wife. So in the meditation, so he's teaching meditation, he's got 100 people, and he's like, breathe in and breathe out and feel your breath. And then he goes quiet, right? And then he's like, I can't believe she said that. I can't believe she's doing this, blah, 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 blah. He's like, breathe in and breathe out. And then he's like, I can't believe that happened. And when this is going to happen, I'm going to do this. And then he's like, I really want a hot dog. I wish I could have a hot dog, right? And so something like that. But there is no perfect, like Pri said, there's no perfect practice. You just keep coming back to the breath. And of course, he was able to calm himself down because he has a lot of practice. But you might close your eyes and hear all the noise and all the voices. And then you just listening to your breath. Let them do their thing. You listen to the breath. Unless there's something calling you towards harm, you kind of stay with it. Listen to the breath. Or tap the body. You don't even have to close your eyes. You can be present. If it helps you to be present in your space, that feels safe. I can look at the plants over there and just be present. So it's a kindness practice. It's a self-kindness practice that flows from inside of us out to the people that we engage with.
Yeah, I really like Tara Brach. I was listening.
Is wonderful.
Yeah, I was listening to her podcast, I think 2 days ago. She was talking about the trance of unworthiness. And she was sharing a story about being with, someone, and someone was just complaining that they could do better next time, that they were not enough, this. And she was talking about this. She starts singing for the person and say, I'm not enough, we are not enough. To like even laugh, because it's like this voice is here all the time, right? And it's like nothing you do is enough. So we have, especially us as trans and Black and brown community, I mean, we have been like told over and over and over again, we are not good, we're not enough. So we got to find a way to snap out and start coming. I mean, it's not a permanent state. Even if you snap out today,
right,
you will return, but it gets faster, I guess. I believe the practice will make you snap out of it faster. Share a little bit about this, like thoughts around the trancy of unworthiness.
Yes, the trance of unworthiness, not enough, and how we can get caught in it. And with the practice, I remember so there's so many different things that we can practice with. So one of the things I practiced with was judgment, because in our culture, we're taught to judge each other. And I've heard people say, I don't judge anybody. It's like, you do judge, because that's how you judge how you look compared to other people, compared to the magazines, compared to the TV. So it's not always bad, but it's important, again, for us to be aware. So one of the practices, for example, is when you judge somebody for their shoes, for their glasses, for what they're wearing, because you think that they're stuck up, or you think that they're sad, or you think, notice, well, why am I thinking that? What is it serving for me to judge this person? Just spending a little bit of time. This has helped you to, because Pri keeps talking about all the voices, it begins us to manage the voices. The other thing I want to say about the voices is that they're not bad. So we don't want to try to push them away or necessarily shut them up. What we want to do is either figure out how to soothe them and or give them another job. So, or let them know that we're okay. So, for example, when I was a kid, my experience was that I was not enough, right? So I had experienced neglect, beatings, like lots of children know this experience. And so I grew up with thinking, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. And so, well, let's see where I was going to go with that. Where I was going, because I got lost in the story a little bit. So where I was going is sort of like, the voice that tells me that is the voice that was trying to help me when I was a kid, but I don't need that voice right now. So sometimes what I have to do when I'm having a hard time or I'm triggered is talk to the little me's, because the voices are coming from the past voices. So, and I do this work with people. Sometimes I, again, put my hand on my heart and I say, we're okay. We're okay. Because I'm here right now. We've survived. The kids might still be in survival mode, right? That's where the fear, anxiety, are we going to be okay? Are we going to make it? What's going on? Am I going to eat? Am I going to be, loved? Like, the kids are doing that, but right now I'm okay. I'm with my friend or I'm with other friends and I can say, we're okay. We're okay. And just begin to take care of me. Sometimes I tell my voices, like if a voice comes up and is nagging me and I can catch it, I like to send my voices to the beach. I'm like, the beach is dirty. Why don't you go clean the beach? And, and then I sort of and pretend that it goes off and it's quiet here, right? Because I've kind of acknowledged it. The voices want to be acknowledged. I forgot your question now.
That's great practice. Talking about the trance of unworthiness, it's not something that happened just for me, Pri, or just for Fresh. Like, if we can look and recognize as a community that this is going on collectively, I mean, of course, cisgender people would have this, white people would have this, but I'm talking about also the difference between oppressed and marginalized groups, the intensity of this, and for people who have more privilege, maybe. So can you share a little bit of more about that?
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up that white people, with wealth, almost our whole world is set up so that we all have it. And we can see it in our people of color community with colorism, right? Light people don't want to be dark or associated with dark people, and dark people think light people have it all good, right? And we have this thing, and all it does is oppress all of us. It's just a tool. It didn't come from us. It came from above. The people who are holding all the money, who are making all the decisions, the people, and those people, so many of them, the most traumatized, because you cannot care for people and love for people or love yourself. You cannot be kind and loving to yourself and harm and, you know, almost kill off people who make money for you or people around you. The people who are causing us harm, they're traumatized. They're not dealing with it. So it's us healing ourselves. We start voting better. We start choosing better. We start supporting people. But that's a different story. But I just wanted to name that or, you know, reiterate what Pri said. Everybody's suffering. Every single person's suffering. So because I'm grounded in like my practice of meditation, I have a practice of being kind and loving. That means I consciously do that. I consciously, if I can't give money to somebody, say a prayer. If somebody curses me out, and it happens occasionally, sometimes I get mad, but afterwards I say a prayer, and I'm intentional, so I don't want to get mad next time the same way. So I'm really in this practice. When I'm practicing this, if I can have compassion for the people that are causing me harm, it causes me less harm. You know, otherwise, they cause me harm, and then I'm like, of course I deserve this harm, and now I'm mad at you. I'm going to take it out on that person over there. If they don't even know me, you know, I don't know them, and we're taking it out on each other. So I forgot the question again. Am I rambling? I think I had a little bit too much tea this morning. I'm like, ooh.
No, I was thinking about how hard it is for us as trans and Black and brown community, the trans of unworthiness. It's like across the board.
Yes, because whether it's the medical system, our families, we have friends and community all telling us that something's wrong with us. And I thank you for offering me this opportunity to just say there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you at all. As trans people, we get to expand what it means to be human. All we're doing is waking up what's already there. We're just expressing our humanness. And when you express your humanness and you live into your human beingness, you are moving and shifting into your power. And as you move and shift into your power, which includes your, you know, to a certain extent, pride is good, but really self-love is even more powerful. Vulnerability, so much powerful. As we do this, we will be attacked more, which is what's happening here in the United States. The more free we get, the more open we get, the larger we get, the attacks are coming in. So what use of it is it for us to be racist to each other? What use of it is us to treat each other like we're not precious, loving, caring, also human beings that need to heal? Healing together versus working against each other. How to make that happen. And it's not easy. It's not easy. I'm not perfect. Once in a while, I'm acting out in some way because I'm part of this universe. I'm part of this humane system. And hopefully I wake up. And so occasionally I've had friends be like, I can't talk to you right now. And that's okay, right? And I've done that to people. I can't talk to you right now. But I do it with loving kindness. I don't walk away from them and then have to tell everybody the story about what happened and gossiping and all of this. I'm hoping that they will heal. And there have been people that we've come back around to each other, that we've been able to see each other because we're both healing, and we've been able to greet and work together with each other. It's possible. So I want to say,
at the same time, I like coming it's so beautiful, but like there's the feeling of the anger, right? Like in our community or in ourselves. And I see like the thing of like gossiping, and I guess the first thing I do now with practice is like always be not real. I don't trust people who come to me to tell me something about someone else. I need to have my own experience with that person because I cannot see reality through someone else's lens. And what ended up happening is that someone heard this, someone here, oh, this person is not this, that person is not that. And what creates is, well, first, you might not engage with that person or whatever, but there's the fear or like a poisoning of our perception from someone else. And I think that's being so strong in our community, right? Especially as you said in the beginning, like there is like different organizations sometimes competing with each other and not being fair sometimes, and I think a lot of people think, oh, all trans people are, the idea that we are not flawed or somehow we need to be perfect with each other. It's like a huge community and everybody get along. Some kind of like tokenizing idea about trans community. And when I talk about the real issues of like, oh, we're hurting each other, it's painful. There's a lot of there's a lot of competition. And I see this is like a huge colonizing
strategy.
It's just the patriarchy again, putting us against each other. And I remember this quote from Audre Lorde, and I always carry with me since I start the project here in Brazil. That's the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. However, how we bring accountability to the table, because if like hurt people, we need to find ways to hold people accountable for what they have done, right? I mean, people would cause harm to each other and nobody seems to talk about it and have a community, conversation about the issue somehow. So I want to hear, like, how do you see accountability taking place in a good way in our community, in a way that's like uplifting?
Yeah, thank you. Like here in Oakland, and of course other places in the country, we've been learning from Native communities, indigenous communities, I should say, because it's Native American, it's Latin American, it's African people as well, and Asian. The whole concept of circles, of being able to be in a circle and have a conversation that's difficult, where people are not sharing about what you did, but about how I feel, how these situations made me feel. Not about what you did, but I never talked to you or about you directly. I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling unheard, I'm feeling whatever it is that I'm feeling. And people are welcome to come to the circle. It's not possible to hold anybody accountable. We all have to be accountable to ourselves. And the people who are not ready, they are not likely to be a part of the circle. But how do we keep the circle going? How do we keep the circle going and let the people know to some extent that, you're welcome when you're ready to come back. But right now, if you can't do whatever the people in the circle decide how they want to hold the circle, because we want to have whatever level of safety each person can bring for themselves in the circle, we might have to ask somebody to remove themselves. But the idea of holding people accountable, I think, is also, we want people to be accountable for themselves. The colonizer, like, we're going to hold you accountable and then we're going to put you blah, 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 right? So how do we encourage people to be accountable for themselves? And it might be that if I'm having a conflict with somebody in the circle, maybe through someone else in the circle, I'm like checking in on them, making sure they're okay. Like, I'm still holding compassion, even though we can't directly connect. So I can't do that unless I'm holding also compassion for myself. I have to be able to go, oh, what this person did, wow, it really hurts. So I might get angry, I might get rage, but below that, getting to the anger part. Wow, this really hurts. I might say, and I'm doing this with other people, this brings up this for me and that for me, but that's not happening right now, but still this hurts, right? And then from there, I can go, and you began talking about this a little bit earlier. So one of our practices is called the meta practice, or there's also a self-compassion practice, where we begin with me, and I may say things to myself like, may I be kind to myself. May I accept myself just as I am. May I not cause myself harm. And may I experience ease. And I might repeat that to myself 5 times, 10 times maybe. And then I might think of the other person and I might say, you know, may they accept themselves just as they are. May they be kind to themselves. May they also experience ease, whatever the phrases are. And then I might offer that to everybody. May we all do this. And it's a practice that helps to ground ourselves in ourselves, but also helps connect us in community. And it's a practice that I strongly believe in. So when I have conflict with someone in the community, I rarely talk about it. I might talk about it like a year later, but the first thing that happens is I sometimes say, you know, did I do something to bring this on? So I want to be held accountable. If I feel like I didn't, then I just let, you know, I just do my kindness practice for me, my kindness practice for them, and I keep walking. And then maybe we'll come back around. And it has happened. People have come back around to me to offer apologies. I have gone to people to offer apologies from 10, 20 years ago to maybe even last week, right? And just be like, because I'm doing this practice, I'm waking up, I'm healing, and when I'm healing, I want to be able to, then I can be accountable. It's hard to be accountable when you're in a trigger place or when you're in victim mode. And the victim mode comes from allowing those voices to take over the experience. Yeah.
Yeah, so powerful. Thank you for reminding us of all of this. It is a practice, definitely. And yeah, we get to not beat ourselves up also when we're not doing it perfectly, or, you know, it's triggering. It's an opportunity to try different things. And I want to invite you to leave like a final message for especially our trans man community here in Brazil, trans masculinity, and of course, trans woman, non-binary, everybody. But what would be your last words? And knowing you have been here, you know a little bit about how things have been, and just final messages for this audience today.
Yeah, I appreciate the way you made that offer. So yes, I do want to acknowledge that the harm for trans women and trans women of color, and for gender expansive, gender fabulous people, because you're so visible, that I want to acknowledge that the harm that you're experiencing, it's not your fault. You don't deserve it. And I hope that you can feel love for yourself. And I, as an ally, will do my best to do my work, my healing, and to continue to educate people so that you can experience less harm. I just want to name that. And then I want to say something also, thank you, Pri, about trans masculine experience. Because when you become invisibilized and quote unquote passing, that doesn't heal your traumas. And I want to just name that, yes, you not only do you have traumas, but you also deserve to be held and recognized for the ways that you show up, for the ways that you were courageous, whether it's under a knife, right? If you had any surgeries done, or in your transition, or pre-transition, when we know what the experience is in female people who are labeled female at birth. Those experiences don't go away when you transition. So know that you are enough and be kind to yourself. And Pri, thank you for bringing this together. Can't wait to watch the Trans Pride. May we all grow closer to ourselves and then more loving and connected to each other. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I really hope that this can encourage our community to, practice and to share and to do circles. And I'm here, always wanting to do that with community. So if anybody's interested, email us. We sometimes do sanghas. Now, after COVID has been a little difficult, but we're probably going to get back to it soon. And I guess the trans fair itself, it is a big sangha. So I hope to see everybody also live there on June 11 and 12. We're going to talk a little bit about some of these topics as well, because I'm launching the book, the Dossier de Linguagem Neutra Inclusiva. It's the book, and in the beginning, I share a little bit about this integration process that's so needed for our community. And yeah, I invite everybody to be there, to be in person this time. And thank you so much, Fresh. I miss you. I love you. Thank you for existing and to be part of this, my heart, and to this community somehow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you to the universe for connecting us.
So an ideal workplace, you would have, a senior manager expressing support for their LGBTI employees.
As empresas abrirem a cabeça e abrirem os olhos para dar espaço para a gente, é importante para eles e importante para a gente, porque a gente precisa estar inserido no mercado de trabalho, a gente tem nossa vida para gerenciar, a gente tem conta para pagar, a gente tem que resistir, a gente precisa de dinheiro, a gente precisa de emprego.
Giving LGBTI people a chance to reach their potential in the private sector is a pretty hard task to accomplish. If you look at the entire world, I think there is maybe, in the Fortune 500 companies, there's maybe 1 or 2 CEOs that are openly gay. And if you look at the board of those companies, you will find very few people that are openly LGBTI.
Estereótipo que a trans tem que ser prostituta, tem que ser cabeleireira, ou tem que estar no meio, sempre na área da limpeza, sempre escondida, sempre atrás, nunca à frente.
Nosso trabalho no Transmissão é o trabalho que muita gente de várias empresas teriam que fazer.
O poder público tem feito a sua parte. Nós estamos promovendo vários programas de inclusão, conscientizando a população LGBTI sobre os seus direitos, promovendo programas, por exemplo, para a inclusão do nome social nos documentos, mas não é só isso que nós precisamos. Nós precisamos que depois da qualificação que esta população recebe e da garantia dos seus direitos, haja um processo de inclusão.
Eu acho muito interessante desse tema é que a gente tem a parte da responsabilidade, então as empresas como cidadão ela tem que então entender como trabalhar com o público LGBTI, internalizar esse público nos seus dia a dia, nas suas tarefas e ações, e tem o outro lado, a oportunidade.
LGBTI people do not have the same opportunities than the rest of the population, which is particularly true for the most marginalized, like trans people. It's a human rights agenda, which by definition is a universal agenda.